This podcast is part of the Pull Up a Chair podcast network. Let's build community through connection, conversation, and collaboration.
Welcome to
How's That Working For You?
where
We spill the tea about relationships, millennial adulting, or whatever else life decides to chuck at us.
Hey Kat, what's up?
I just started an internship. So I just started an internship, and I've never really had any experience working on a team on projects that aren't related to yoga and real life. Like, I've only had minimum wage jobs that minimum wage jobs that don't that aren't in the field that I'm studying for, basically. So now that I have somewhat of a job, because it's an internship in the field that I'm studying for, I'm finding that interacting with people and working on a team is different than what I'm used to. So I think that it gives me perspective about my own capabilities as like a single employee, or I guess like as a single worker. Worker is not a good word for it, right? Like
Well, I mean, you are technically an employee.
yeah, so like my capabilities as a single employee, and then having to coordinate with other people as well on a team. It's not difficult for me. It's definitely a situation where I have to create my own structure. I have to do my own research. It's a lot that I'm not used to, and it was really overwhelming, and I broke down. I have these really weird moments where I break down and start crying because it's so overwhelming to me, because it's a new thing. And so I'd break down for like half an hour maybe, and then I'd sit and reflect, and I realized that no, it's fine. This is all fine. I'm perfectly capable of accomplishing this task and getting my life together. It doesn't have to happen right away, but it's gonna happen. So I just have these moments because V, you know me. You know how I'm just a chaotic person, and I need structure. And I've just now, within the past year or so, been able to I stepped away from a toxic situation, so now I have clarity of my own life, and I have space in my brain to really confront my problems, to confront the things that I needed to confront, because I never had time to do that in my last relationship. So now that I'm faced with that, it's kind of like I'm stuck in my head with my thoughts and my insecurities and the things that I need to grow on, and it's just like thought after thought after thought, and it's really overwhelming sometimes.
Well, I would like to add that I think a big reason for that is your ex. Is he would always tell you that you aren't good enough, you're not good at stuff, you this or that, and you need somebody to tell you what you can do because you're not structured and you're too messy. So you really had that drilled into you.
That's true. Yeah, I think that I've really started to come to realize that I'm more talented and I'm more capable of a human being, and I'm more capable of being just adulting in general than I thought I would be, because I feel like you're right. My ex really did berate me. He made me feel small and insignificant, and he made me feel like I was a mess of a human being. And even if he didn't intend for it to affect me that way, it did, and it really stunted my growth in terms of being a functional adult. Of course, I was always more emotionally mature than him, and I had done all of that work before, and I've grown from my experience having mental illness and all of that trauma. But now now that I'm not carrying the weight of my ex's trauma, I now have the space to look at new problems that are coming up in my life, and I now have the space to self-reflect and realize that all these things that were so scary to me aren't as scary as I've made them out to be in the past.
Well, I'm glad you learned. That's a big learning lesson. That's a big growth moment for you.
Yeah. I think I'm a late bloomer in terms of I graduated school late. I had to take lots of semesters off. I was always one of those intelligent people, but didn't have the structure or just the motivation. I guess it wasn't it's in between motivation and not motivated, because I was sick. So I think that my attention was directed other places whenever I cycled into depression or mania. But I was a late bloomer. And now I graduated from undergrad, I guess, in 6 years. And I started grad school the same time that some of the people in our graduating class are doing now after working like 2 years, right? So I'm now faced with this weird realization that I'm not really behind, but I feel behind because I did waste a bit of time. It wasn't wasted. I just spent a lot of time healing from being sick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like this is just a shrink session right now. You're just listening to me ramble.
That's okay. I mean, if you want to listen to me ramble, I'm having my own issues with self-confidence at the moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's talk about that.
Which is not something I've ever really dealt with before. So, like, you know what I look like. I've always been on the smaller side. I'm short. And then I've had a 32 waist since I was 16 or so. And everything else just kind of rounded out around my waist. And so some people would describe me as curvy. Not as curvy as some family members that I have, but I've always been, like, rather curvy. But since the whole stay-at-home order has been hit, I stopped, like, going out and walking. And so lately, I've noticed that I'm growing on my thighs and my waist only. Only those two spots of my body have been getting bigger and bigger. And I measured myself the other day because I'm working on a new cosplay outfit. So I was sewing and I was like, let me just double check my measurements before I cut the fabric. And lo and behold, my waist grew by 4 inches. And
so you're 36 now?
I'm 36 waist, and just barely. I'm more like 35, but you know, you always gotta measure up, round up, and that stuff. So it was just a really big hit to my confidence. Like, wow, I don't look that different, but the fact that I am that different is such a big deal. And because I'm not going out into the world, I'm not, like, wearing my bras and other things, because I don't have to. So my clothing choice, like, swayed more towards my comfier, looser things, and so I didn't really notice my gradual growth, and it's been really hard, because, like, I didn't change much. I've basically been the same size forever. But now I'm so much bigger.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think that. Well, I guess I haven't seen you either, but it's probably a lot less than you think. And I know
numbers don't lie.
I know you have numbers
on my
but
side.
It's not. It probably doesn't look as drastic as you think it does. But I can understand that. You know that I've had eating disorders in the past as well, so I can definitely understand that. I think that the body image issues have kind of taken a backseat. I mean, they're still there, don't get me wrong, but they've taken a backseat since I've started my job.
But also, Kat, think about it. Like, I live in a very small space, and for people like me who don't have space for gym stuff or, even for like yoga in the living room is somewhat of a challenge, especially if it's more than me. If it's like me and my husband trying to do something, there's not a lot of space for both of us to stretch out.
That's true. And yeah, your husband was is a very active person, so it must be hard for him too.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that his work is kind of physical because he can still do stuff, but like, I see him when he comes up the stairs, he'll like do them twice just cause.
Oh my god, he's one of those people.
Yes. Oh, and that reminds me, my boss has been streaming like his whole family workouts. Like they do they clear out their living room, they put a bunch of mats down, and as a family, like they like line up in a way to like conserve space while they do it. And it's like, I wish there was space in my own home to do something like that, because I think it would be really helpful to be more physically active. All I've done is cut down on my eating, which you know is difficult for me. I love some food.
You do love your food. But yeah, I do. I remember trying to do yoga in your apartment, and it's a very narrow space. Where you do have, quote, space, it's a very narrow space, even for a yoga mat. I don't know how this podcast became how to stay fit during quarantine, but like
well, our episode was supposed to be about self-confidence, but you know, I guess this is the direction we went.
Well, there's another option. There's a thing called a TRX strap, which I got for a bootleg of. It's just an unbranded version of it that I got from Walmart.com.
Is it like that door pull-up bar thing? Because
no,
Michael
it's not
has that.
Oh no, I've seen that on
awful.
your. Well, I mean, I just feel like that's not something I can't even do pull-ups, let alone you. And
I can do one. I can do one solid pull-up.
I can't.
That is it.
I can't imagine having all that. Like, oh my god, if I had to pull an ass as big as yours up. I'm teasing.
Gee, thanks, Kat.
I had to. I'm sorry. I feel like, girl, you're one of those people who complain about not losing weight, but then when placed with the opportunity to even try working out, you're like, nah.
Well, in my defense, I've never really needed to lose weight before.
Okay, fair. Similarly to how I've never had to work with other people before. So, it makes sense. It makes sense for us to feel like we're fish out of water, right? So it makes us...
Yeah.
It makes sense for us to have a little bit of uncertainty about our self-confidence. So...
That brings up another issue kind of in my brain in a roundabout way. Like, I'm sitting here like, oh my god, I'm getting so big. But if I, like, take a step back and look at the big picture, I'm not fat. By no means am I, like... Can I, like, start an Instagram page about body positivity being plus-sized? In the junior section.
Oh my god. We've talked about this off recordings before. So, yeah, actually, I feel like there's no market for normal-sized people. I mean, you know me. I've been on the Instagram community thing for a while. I hate talking about it like it's... Because I think there's a stigma attached to influencers, but I have been trying to grow a following, and it's been like a 2-year process. And the thing is, I'm part of the yoga community, which is super saturated with very fit people, like really skinny and fit people. And for me, I'm not fat. I'm like you. I'm not fat, but I'm not skinny. Well, I might be on the thinner side of normal, if you know what I mean.
I've seen your poses. I've seen your Instagram poses.
So I might be on the thinner side of average, but I'm by no means as thin or as, like, I want to say, I don't know. What is it called? Conventionally attractive. I guess,
Mm-hmm.
as other Instagram yogis, as we call ourselves. So it's been difficult. I've seen a lot of my friends grow faster than me because they're shaped a way that's more appealing to the larger audience, if that makes any sense. I don't know.
I wonder why that is, because there's also a really large community on Instagram that's all about being plus sized and being body positive.
But I'm not plus sized either. So
I know, and it's interesting that there's not that in-between market, because there's a very strong market going both ways for the thinner, more conventionally attractive women, and for the plus-size women talking about body positivity and loving your shape no matter what that shape is. But you don't see the in-between shapes that often.
Yeah, they always say, like, love your body, like, they always say, like, all shapes matter, or something corny like that. But it seems like not all shapes matter, though, according to what's marketable and what's popular, right? You know, a lot of why I made an Instagram is because, well, not a lot, I'm, like, semi-joking, but for my Instagram was kind of a way to get attention that wasn't from the people in my real life. So I got my fulfillment of attention there, so I wasn't as needy in my real life. If that makes sense.
You know, it's funny, because I only started my Instagram because you told me in college that it was really important, so I started it. I didn't post anything until I graduated from college, but my personal, like, posting pictures of myself and my life and stuff like that, it's not really something I'm into, because I'm boring. And now I'm boring and slightly chubbier.
Stop it. Oh my gosh.
Well, I said slightly.
Your husband and I are constantly in this, like, endless battle of us saying that you're perfect. Like, you think that you're a round Oompa Loompa, but seriously, like, stop it.
Well, I was an Oompa. Now I'm a Loompa.
Oh my god. I don't even know what that means. Like, oh my god.
Leave me alone. My self-deprecating humor is all I have.
Like, honestly, I was an Oompa and now I'm a Loompa. Can we put that on a t-shirt?
Oh yeah, we'll start merch eventually, and then that'll be my favorite shirt. You just wait and see.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Looping back to Instagram and the market for the in-between people like ourselves.
Yeah, I just, you know, and I've talked to you separately about my other projects that I'm working on. We won't mention them on this podcast, but, like, I felt like because it's so hard for me to grow the current market that I'm trying to appeal to, it's been a slow progress for me. So that's why I've been looking at other genres of media or industries. What would you call it? Platforms, yeah. So I've been looking at other things, other interests to appeal to, because of the fact that it's really, all I really want is an audience to really talk about the things that I think are important. But in order to do that on Instagram, you have to have a really good visual, because it is a really visual based platform to go with the message. And then even then, half of the people read the caption. So yeah, it's been a struggle for me. I feel like a lot of people on Instagram are so into looks, and they always talk about inclusivity and stuff like that, but like we just mentioned, there's really no in between like the really hyper fit people and then the gorgeous, voluptuous, body positive people. There's not really a whole lot of influencers that are just in between. If there are, I mean, like, come at me, but
Oh yeah, no, I would love to know if anybody feels like looking us up on social media and sending us other people to follow and whatnot, because that's what social media is about. It's about finding connections.
But I feel like we're both pleasant people.
Pleasant. Not everybody'd say I'm pleasant, but thank you for the compliment. And at that wonderful compliment, I'm going to stop it here before she starts insulting me. We'll see you next week, people.
Drink Something, Say Something is the podcast for those of you who are tired of other beer podcasts, tired of the jargon, tired of all the rigmarole. We're going to bring on brewers, bartenders, and everything in between to talk about anything and everything from beer to the rest of the universe. Come crack one open with us every other Thursday.